You know who it is. It's your boy, Big Tank Hank, coming at you with another live stream. You're in the Fishy Den, people. We got a wonderful, wonderful guest tonight. Miss Hayley of Oddball Aquatics, the mother of dragons. Yes, I said it. She's in the den. And I'm going to bring her up so everybody say hello and welcome her in. Show her some love like we do normally. Hello, 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 hello. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing fantastic. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing very good, very good. Glad you're in the house. Long time coming
Happy
for
to be
me.
here.
Long time coming. I tell you, I've been blessed here lately, to get people on that I was actually fans of from, back when I first started sitting in chats, and you were one of those people, and it took me forever to say, hey, just say something, all you can get
Oh,
is,
yeah.
well, just say something. So I did. I finally got a chance to pull the
I'm so
trigger.
glad you spoke up.
And thank you for accepting. All right, let's see
No problem.
who we got falling in the door here. All right, from the very beginning, Susan of SLC Aquatics. Hello, ma'am. Casual Aquatics, what's going on, sir? I was glad I could stop by your stream today, sir. No problem. Melvin, what's happening, buddy? Scary Terry, not Nola Jane, Fish Rich. What's going on? Hey, y'all like share so somebody can come up in here. Let them know. Let them know. All right, Miss Hayley, let them know a little bit about your beginnings. Little you all the way up to now.
Well, I started keeping furry animals, little mammals, little stuff like that when I was a kid. I had birds and I had skunks and raccoons. I actually did like animal rehabilitation for a while. And I always had that fish tank that everybody starts out with, that clown puke gravel community tank where you went to the pet store and went, I want that one and that one and that one and that one, and maybe that one. And then you put them all together, and none of them ever really lived their best life. They just kind of hang out in the tank. And then I had reptiles for a long time, and then I found ropefish. And like everybody else does with ropefish, I got one and I put it in my community tank because I thought it would look awesome. And it swam around and I thought it was a derpy eater and a half-blind little fish. And then I started researching the ropefish and I found out nobody's researching the ropefish. And so I decided to research the ropefish. And then I found out you couldn't breed them and they didn't know whether they bred in brackish water or this or that or the other. And I just kind of fell in love. And then I filled my house with fish tanks and dedicated my whole life to the aquarium hobby. So that's kind of how that went down.
Literally.
Oh, yeah, I quit. I worked at a flooring store for 10 years. And I quit my job at the flooring store to go work for Lucas. And I took a 50% pay cut because I decided I wasn't happy. I wasn't doing what I love to do, and I wanted to do what I love to do. And what I love to do is grow these plants and learn. And the whole hobby is about learning. That's all fish keeping is research and learning and looking at something and deciding what it means. And you're never going to learn it all. That's the best part about it, is I'm never going to figure it all out because nobody even knows it all yet. It's the last great frontier. The only place that hasn't been completely discovered is the water on our planet. Literally 12 people have been on the moon, and only, I think, 2 have been to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. There's always going to be something to learn in the water.
Right. we got an early question. I had to pull this one on. Casual Aquatics said, fun fact, rope fish are considered reptiles. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, you're wrong. They're not reptiles. They're fish. They're not eels. They're fish. And they actually are ancient fish, and they date back a ridiculous amount of time in the fossil record, to the point where they're basically from that time period where fish started figuring out how to come up on land, which is why everybody says, oh, make sure you have a lid with your rope fish because they'll jump. They're not jumping because they're escape artists. They're jumping because, as a species, they come out of the water. They catch bugs on land, they take them back in the water to eat, all kinds of... They come out on the land. So if you don't give them land, they will find out how to get to it because they want to come out. They breathe over 60% atmospheric oxygen. So they can breathe three ways. They can breathe through their gills, they can breathe through their skin, and they can breathe through their mouth. And they mostly breathe through their mouth, which means they have to have access to open air at the top. And they do that because they come out of water. They can jump because they come out of water. They're not gobies. They're not jumping because they breed on a rock. They're not salmon. They're not jumping because they swim upstream. They come from very still waters that are shallow. They jump because they come out of water. And if you don't give them somewhere to come out, they're going to jump on the floor. So yeah, they're not reptiles. They are fish.
Okay. Good, we got that one out early because I had no idea myself. When I saw it, I was like, hey, let me put this up here. Go ahead and get that out there.
There is a lot of contradictory information online and everywhere about ropefish because nobody puts the time into actually studying them. A lot of people tell you that you can keep them brackish and that they actually spawn in brackish water and things like that. That's not true either. I'm actually working with two of the, I think, 3 people that have actually written scientific papers on ropefish that have been on the ground with them in Nigeria, and that it's just not true. They don't go into the brackish water. The places where they catch them aren't brackish. The babies aren't found in brackish water. Now, it's true they can handle brackish water, but that's not where they live.
And that's crazy how as little information as we have out there, there's so much. Well, I guess that's like anything else, though, huh?
I mean, there are a lot of things in our hobby that are completely not researched enough. And the information that we have it's just not complete information. And it's never going to be unless somebody dedicates the time to it. And the only reason to dedicate the time to it in our current world is if it makes money or you eat it. Like, a lot of these ornamental fish that we keep, there's not a ton of studies on them because unless they can use it in the medical community to test things on, or we can eat it, or you can sell it, there's really no reason to research anything about it other than how do you get it? How do you get more of them?
Right. And where?
Right. And where are they? And where do we put the trap? And how much can we sell it for? That's pretty much, I mean, unless you're talking about like zebra danios or something where they use them in like medical laboratories to test things, nobody's going to put the research into that. I mean, they research tilapia and salmon and all these, sturgeon and whales and all these other things that we harvest, that we use and utilize, but unless it's being used, the only people out there looking at those fish are the people that catch them and sell them to the crazy people that want to put them in their fish tank. Like,
right. How do we, wait a minute. I see my name. What's going on, Susan?
Hi, Susan.
Question. The trapping of them. do they put a trap on land at night? I mean, how do they even?
They build these reed traps, and then they put them in the shallows. So where they come from is like there's all these plants that are growing up. Think of it almost like a rice paddy, except it's deeper in the middle. So super deep in the middle, and then out towards the banks, it's just like shallow mud and vegetation. That's why they're also called the reed fish, because they're in the reeds. And they will make these reed traps, and they will sink them, and you can almost still see them. Like they're not even all the way in the ground. And then they'll bait those traps, and they're basically like a long cylindrical trap where the fish can go in, but it can't find its way out. And they leave them overnight or a couple days, and they come back and they get them, and then they bring them back to where they're at, which is, I wouldn't call it super primitive, but like, you know, it's dirt floors and that kind of thing. And then they keep them in these big containers, and then they travel into the town once every so often and take them into these big exporters that will send them out. So it's like families and stuff that are catching them. It's not like big corporations or anything like that. It's not expeditions. It's families that live along this river. And a lot of them, that's where they make all their money.
Do they set like their own prices in a sense from them catching them, or is it something that's already?
I'm not really sure how they do the pricing. My guess is the exporter tells them how much they're willing to pay them for them. I would highly doubt there's a lot of, I don't know. I bet you it's not that much.
Yeah.
I didn't. My research is more focused on breeding the fish and how the fish acts than how it gets out of the country. I just know that that's how they get them to the exporter, because I called the exporter to try to get in touch with the people that catch them. And then I sent them like a really crappy camera phone and had them take pictures of the area where they were catching them. So I have all these like really grainy pictures of the area where they put the traps and them making the traps. And they took some videos for me. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I would say so. It make me start reaching out to better Chinoides people so I
There you
can
go.
learn more about them.
I mean, that's the only way that you find out what's real. Like, think about where are these things actually coming from, and how they live where they're at. If that's what you want to know, like, it's easy if your fish comes from Papua New Guinea or something like that, because a billion people have been out there and taken pictures. You can just Google it and find a zillion pictures of it. But if you Google ropefish habitat, you're not getting pictures of the Cross River. You're not getting pictures from Nigeria, because let's face it. I mean, it's a war-torn country. It's a country where there's a lot of civil unrest. There's a lot of places that are more primitive than others. I mean, they have big giant cities, but they also, the places where these ropefish come from are not those cities. And people don't travel there for vacation. And if they do travel there, they go to the city. They're not going out into the Cross River into the middle of nowhere in Nigeria. Cameroon, maybe. I know some people that have been to Cameroon. I've talked to some of those people, but not so much Nigeria.
Gotcha. So, are you? How can I ask a question? Are you looking to put more into the market, or is this just your own? You know, just at home, you breed them, you keep them, and then you expand within your, you know, your own area? Or what's your plan with it?
I don't want to necessarily put more into the market. It's more the step before that. So first we have to figure out how to get them to breed in aquariums, because there's only like there's one confirmed report and like 3 other reports I've had of them breeding, but nobody's actually successfully raised them. Nobody's been able to trigger them to breed more than once. And nobody really knows the they know how they breed, like they're an egg scatterer and they lay eggs and it takes this long for the egg to hatch. Like they know those things, but nobody really has done it more than once in an aquarium. There's one person that has it documented, and it was an article from Practical Fish Keeping, and it was a guy named Rolf Bretz. He was from the UK, and he got his rope fish to breed, and he got the eggs to hatch, and they lived for about, I think it was 21 days is how long it takes for them to come. So he had them alive for, I think, 10 weeks or something like that. 10 or 12 weeks, but then they all died, and he never got them to breed again. So he doesn't know what triggered them to spawn. He doesn't know if he was feeding them the right foods. And some of like these other projects that I'm doing actually really are helping me design what I'm going to do with the rope fish, because for instance, these puffers back here, these are the Shodeni puffers, the Scoot and Fruity puffers in this tank right here. Figuring out how to keep their babies alive is ridiculous. They are the tiniest little babies. They have to eat a stupid amount of times a day, like 8 times a day. They can only, like, you can't even feed them baby brine shrimp because they're littler than a baby brine shrimp. So you have to culture paramecium, and you have to culture it on a scale where you have a stupid amount of it 8 times a day. Which, if you've ever cultured paramecium before, it smells horrible.
The smell, yeah.
So if you're culturing gallons of it, like multiple different, I was talking to Preston John. He's the guy that's actually like cornered the market on these Shodeni puffers. He can produce them like that. At one point, when he was at his highest production, he had so much paramecium in his house that he said you could smell his house from a block away. And it's rotting vegetable matter. Like, that's how you make paramecium. So it's just, no. I can't. There's either got to be a different way to do it, or I'm not going to be raising up a bunch of puffers. Like, I've been trying and trying to figure that one out. Which just makes me think, if the rope fish, if they couldn't keep them alive once they got them, there's got to be something about the diet or the environment that's wrong. So my hypothesis there is either we're feeding them the wrong thing, or they need more mud. Because when you talk to the people in Nigeria and ask them, where are the baby rope fish? Because they never catch baby rope fish. You never see them smaller than a certain size at a pet store. And in the videos of them with their catch and emptying out their catch, there's no babies in there. So I asked, where's the babies? The babies are in the mud. And I'm like, okay, how deep are they? Like, did you have to dig them out, or are they just like hanging out in the mud? No, they're deep. They're in the mud. So my next rope fish pond is going to have an even deeper substrate level of just straight mud. My that pond I have back there has no cap on it. It is just dirt, which is why I can't see them.
And just tripping on the aspect of these babies being in the mud, because I just, realize that what you're saying, that, I mean, because there has been babies, because they keep going, but they can't even catch them. I mean,
but they're not catching them in the shallows.
Yeah.
They got to be somewhere. Half of research is asking the right question. You can ask, where does the rope fish breed all day long? But if the babies are burying themselves down in the mud, that's a totally, like, where are the babies? That was the right question.
And could the mud even be an integral part in, like the hatching and the gestation aspect of it?
Well, it could be that, and it could be a certain type of mud. That's why I want to go to Nigeria. Like, people think I'm crazy because I'm like, I would really like to go to Nigeria and have somebody take me out to where they are, because it could be 50% sand, 50% vegetative matter that's decaying. It could be leaf litter. It could be, who knows? Because I've never gone out there and picked up a handful of it. I don't know if it's rocky or silty or a lot of clay. And you can ask those questions, but are they testing the mud out there? They don't have any reason to.
Yeah, no.
And generally, if you look at, so I did try to look at like water tests, because the environmental people will go out and test the water because of the fish that they take from there. Like they'll test the pollution levels and stuff like that. So I went down a rabbit hole with that research, but it doesn't really help me that much because they take those readings from the middle of the river. And that's not where my fish is at. My fish is over by the banks and chilling over there where there's all kinds of plants that are growing and dying and whatever else. Like, yeah. If I don't get shot first, that's right, Scary Terry. That's half the reason I can't get there because number one, nobody wants to go with me. And number two, I'm 5 foot wearing shoes and I weigh 98 pounds. You could literally kidnap me by putting me on the back of a bicycle. So, not exactly the safest thing for me to do alone.
No, no, not at all. Off the subject, but still on the subject of your fish room, the Bashirs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had a whole series on Bashir babies, and
yeah, they did not make it, which is another reason I think food is a factor for the rope fish, because food is a factor for the Bashirs. Even the ones that I took, because I spread those out. I tried to put them, I was like, anybody that wants to take one of these and try to keep it alive, please do, because something is a factor here, and I can't figure out what it is in keeping them alive. I couldn't figure out whether it was the food, the water, the plants, the substrate. So I had a bunch of them that I put in different scenarios, different water parameters, different things. And I could never get them past about 3 weeks. I gave some to Steven from SC Aquatics. He runs 614fish.com, which his fertilizer is amazing if you're not already using it. I love it. I gave some to him, I think. I'm pretty sure. I gave some to Lucas, LRB Aquatics, you know, the green water wizard who can keep anything alive. And his lasted pretty long. I will give him that. He didn't know he had them because I found them one day when I was over there. I was like, there's Bashirs in here, because I gave him little tiny babies and he just threw them in a tank because that's what he does, because he works magic. And he had 2 that made it, I would say, a good 2 or 3 months. I mean, they got big enough where you could see like their external gills and things like that. And he was feeding them tetracolored tropical granules because that's what he does. Which I could kill him for, but whatever. And his made it about 2 or 3 months, and then they died too. And it's like, what is it? There's got to be something in their growth and development that we are not giving them, whether it's a water parameter, whether it's an environmental factor like the substrate or some kind of plant or some kind of something, or it's the food. Like, there's got to be something that happens in their gut bacteria. So, like, the way I think about it is like baby rabbits. If you find baby rabbits in the wild, do not try to raise them unless you have rabbits. Because baby rabbits eat their parents' poop.
Mm.
And they do that, and it's not the only thing they eat, obviously, but they eat their parents' poop, and they do that because it builds a gut bacteria that allows them to survive. If they don't build that gut bacteria up, they will die. It's just what happens. And I always think about that when I think about the Bashirs and the rope fish, because I'm like, there's got to be something that is coming into them somehow that allows them to develop properly to maintain life. Because they're both ancient species. The rope fish and the Bashirs, ancient species. So they can't be that sensitive that they can't continue on life, because they've continued on life for a bajillion years. But there's got to be something in the environment that they're in that is a factor to their going from an egg to a baby to an adult, because they have these external gills like you think axolotls have when they're babies, and then those go away, and then they are an adult. So yeah, it's all very confusing.
And speaking of, because especially like using the example with the gut bacteria, I mean, they wouldn't be sensitive if that was their natural, but they would be sensitive here if they couldn't develop any of that.
So what are we missing? That's the question. What do they have in those waters that I can't replicate in my aquarium, or haven't replicated in my aquarium?
Danikin, what's good?
Hey, Danny. Or is it Kenny? Is it Danny or is it Kenny?
Right.
It's probably Kenny.
Kenny E. Knight Rider said he'd take you to Nigeria any day.
Oh yeah? Hit me up. You got to protect me though.
And Scared Terry was telling me how to say. So it's Biter. Hey, Scared.
I say Bashir.
Hey, beta.
Right. I say Bashir. I've heard biker. I've heard all kinds of but I mean, come on, beta. I mean, it's Latin, okay? None of us are speaking it right. It's a dead language.
Kenny E. Okay. Hey, got that clarification.
It's Kenny. Hi, Kenny.
So tell us your project you got back there behind you.
Okay, so that's my 50 low boy. And I may have to get up and catch a rainbow fish in just a second, because I've almost caught all the rainbow fish out of there, because I was a genius and decided I'm going to grow these rainbow fish babies out in my 50 low boy. And then they'll grow really fast, and I'll be able to catch them really easily before they become super fast rainbow fish. And then I didn't catch them, and then I couldn't catch them. And so now I've had this group of like 6 of them in there that have been spawning. So now there's going to be more babies in there. But I've gotten almost all of them out. There's just one more female left, and she's currently hanging out. You can't see her. Oh, wrong way. This way. Okay, so do you see that I have a net set up right here?
Yeah.
That is propped up. Yeah, that's in case she swims that way. Because if she swims that way, she's going to be in that net. And I'm going to go swoop, and she's going to be out of there. She's currently hanging out right over there in the corner. You can't really see her. Anyway, this is my 50 low boy. This is like my aquascape tank. If you ever get a chance to do a freshwater 50 low boy, 10 out of 10 do recommend. Because that thing is like a tiny little plant frag tank, and I love it. The surface, I love a good footprint, and it's just like a giant water table. Oh yeah, you gonna swim over there? Because I'm gonna catch you if you do. Hey, what if I sneak up on you like this? Hang on a second, I gotta do this real quick. This is very important. Can you go that way? Towards the net? Towards the net. Oh, no, she moved. Dang it.
Knew it was coming.
I'm telling you, the trick is that I don't want to tear up any of these plants. Like, I could have her out of there in a second if I just went to town on that tank. But I don't want to tear up any of these plants, so I'm being very cautious with my movements, because the crypt that is right in front of that net, right there, all of this is a Rosen Maiden Nuri crypt that's probably this big. And if I damage that thing, I'm going to cry. I'm just going to cry. So then you got this 36 gallon right here, which has my trio of Shodentai puffers. So that's the Scoot and Fruity puffer. And that's a breeding group. I just haven't been able to keep the babies alive because they will only eat paramecium for the first 50 days of their life, and you have to feed them 8 times a day, and it takes a stupid amount of paramecium to feed those things, and I just can't cultivate enough of it. If I could cultivate some more paramecium, that would be great without making my house smell like absolute garbage.
Oh,
And then further this way, this is my big rack. So that's the Bashirs down there. That's all the Senegalis Bashirs. So there's an albino, a longfin albino, a standard, and a platinum. And the platinum's going to come out and swim down this way. You'll see her in a second. And then moving up, this is, hang on, I'm trying to point. There we go. That is my 20 long splash tetra tank. So that has a group of splash tetras and some Amano shrimp and some autocinquus in it. And then moving over here, this is my pleco tank. That's got my breeding pair of longfin bristlenose. And then up one is a 20 long. That's got my bettas in it. Well, betta. I have a male and a female, but I got the female pulled right now. And then right here, that is a 20 long that has my rainbow shiners in it. I just got those probably 2 months ago, a month ago. And then this rack right here, this is a 20 long, and there's two 10-gallons on the bottom. That one's got my green water, and then the 10-gallon next to it has a big old group of baby bettas. And then there's a 40 breeder there's two 40 breeders in my kitchen. One of them's got my monsters in it. There's an ornate Bashir, a featherback knifefish, and a royal sailfin albino pleco. And then the other 40 breeder is just a giant shrimp tank. And then in the back is my pond. All the rest of my lights are off currently, though. I turned these back on so that, you know, the background would look pretty and green. But generally at this time of night, my lights are off, so all those lights are off at the moment.
I can identify. All right. Thank you for that tour. So,
yeah.
I know everybody wants to know the answer to this question. How was it to work for Ella?
Oh, yeah.
Correct. Everybody wants to know that. They want to know.
Honestly, best friend ever. He's amazing. Couldn't have asked for a better boss. Couldn't ask for a better friend. We still hang out all the time. I was actually up at his house the other day. He would really like me to do some water changes, but I don't work for him anymore. We both have OCD. It's a little bit different, but it makes it easier to understand each other because it's very difficult to work in someone's fish room. Because especially someone who is so unique in his fish keeping. It's not like it's just change the water, clean the filter, move on. That's not how he does fish. You got to be the fish. You got to be one with nature. You got to understand the balance that exists in these systems. Because that's how you have a silent fish room. Everybody else's fish room sounds like brrr, right? Because airlines and filters and all that running. Silent. Still waters. Occasional fish splash. No lids with rainbow fish, keeping them from jumping. That is where I learned that you have to train your fish. That's how he trains his fish not to jump.
Somebody need to train my golden killifish, golden wonder killifish every time I get them. Train them to not jump.
You can't train a killifish. He'll put a lid on a killifish every time. I guarantee you. Because you can't train those suckers not to jump.
Oh.
What's on the whiteboard? Let's see. That'd be my 6-year-old. I believe that's me and her releasing the birds that we raised last week. So last week, I was out walking around in the woods and found some baby cowbirds. And so we raised those up and released them last weekend, or beginning of last week. I think it was Monday. They were ready to go. I was like, fly on, little birds. So she had to draw a picture of it because she was real sad that they're gone. And now
So
she wants a cockatiel.
teaching her how to rehab.
I just can't look at an animal that needs help and not do anything about it. Like, that's how we ended up with a rabbit. We have a rabbit now because one of my friends was like, hey, I found these rabbits out in the middle of nowhere, and they're like pet rabbits. Do you want one? And I was like, no. And she's like, well, will you take it? And I'm like, yes. But he's the best rabbit ever. His name's Food. I named him Food.
Oh. Ah.
You gotta get creative if you're gonna name a rabbit. It's not gonna come to its name. Like, I'm naming him for me.
I hear you. I used to raise them for food in high school, then tried to eat one, and then I couldn't no longer.
I bred rabbits for 4-H. So I did show quality rabbits in 4-H, and there also is a section where you can do meat pins, so you have to learn how to like skin a rabbit and all that. Plus,
yeah, that was me.
I grew up with my grandparents, like never even at my dad's side of the family, never even went to the grocery store. Like, are you hungry? You should probably go find something to eat. Like, that's just how you do when you don't go to the grocery store for your meat. Like, my uncle had a cow farm, and they would slaughter cows and eat those, and we would have this much meat, and you kept it in the freezer, and if that ran out or you didn't want to eat cow, then you went out and shot a squirrel, and grandma made squirrel, and like, I mean, you want fish, you're going to be fishing that day. Like, that's how it was.
I can remember a little bit of that. Knight Rider wants to know about aquatic arts. Says he likes
aquatic arts. Yeah, aquatic arts is fantastic. We are currently changing warehouses, so it's very stressful because we've got to move everything. That's why currently we're having a giant blanket sale. So everything we have in stock that is fish or alive, 20% off. You don't have to put in a code, nothing. It's just automatically 20% off because we have to move it all out. And the less livestock we have, the better, because we've got to move everything out of our current warehouse into our new warehouse, and we've got to do it a lot faster than we thought we were going to have to. So we're wheeling and dealing. And we just brought in 50 boxes of fish from Indonesia. So, yeah.
And so that means the new fish is going to have to make the transition, period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jess, what's going on? So would you be interested in having your own online or physical fish store?
I tried it. I opened aquariumdragon.com, but honestly, that's not where my passion is in this hobby. Like, I love to spread like the plants that I grow around, and if I have extra shrimp and fish, I need to move them out. But I'm not in this to make money. I'm in this to do research. Like, that's the part of this hobby that I love, is that it is endless research. It is nothing but learning. And you're never going to learn it all. Like, I get really bored with stuff because I'm like, oh, I know all this. I don't need to even think about it again. But with this hobby, you're never going to know it all. Period. Nobody knows it all. Because 12 people have been on the moon, but only 2 have been to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. There's always going to be something new that comes out of the water. That is why it is where all of our folklore still exists. Think about it. What do we got left? The Loch Ness Monster, the Kraken. Like, we don't know what's down there. Now, granted, saltwater has a lot more of that. Like, I can't even jump into that pool yet because my brain can't wrap around all of that information with all of this. But freshwater still has stuff. I mean, the Loch Ness is fresh. There's so much we don't know about the water on our own planet.
Yeah. That's why it intrigues us so much on even on a small basic level. I would tell people on the stream all the time how you see how my tanks are, and they look like this because it just reflects 30 years ago when I first started, catching stuff. That's what it looked like, and it was just, man, they breathe under this water, this is crazy to me, Hey, that worm that's down there in that dirt, look at this beetle, swimming. I mean, it was just always been crazy to me. And this is a small basic level. If you talk about a salt water, which we're talking about quadrupling the amount of different species compared to freshwater, it's crazy.
Well, and the thing, like, all the way down to their plants, like, our plants are alive in freshwater, okay? Like, they live, they grow, they breathe, that kind of thing. In saltwater, their plants are alive. They're corals. They have to feed them. Like we have to fertilize our water, right? Like, or a root tab or whatever. They have to feed them, like, food. Like, and they eat it. Like, wrap your mind around that. If all the plants that you put in your aquarium had to be fed. Like, some of them even eat, like, brine, like mysis shrimp, and, like, that's not a small food. That's like a meaty food for the corals. Like, the corals are what fascinates. That's what's going to get me into saltwater. The only saltwater thing I have any interest in keeping other than a mantis shrimp, because mantis shrimp, tell me that thing's not cool. It can punch faster than a bullet. But the coral is what gets me, and it's so expensive. It's so expensive. I've seen like $800,000 corals and it's this big. You're like, what? Somebody asked earlier the difference, if you can tell the difference in male and female ropefish and bashirs. You totally can. It's super, super easy. So they all have that fin on the back, right? Their back tail fin, and then there's the fin below it, okay? Anal fin, whatever you want to call it. Back tail fin, bottom tail fin. On a male, that thing will be huge and meaty. If it's a female, it'll be almost nothing with just a fin off the end. So, big chunky dude. Maybe I can show you. Hang on. Let's see here. Come here, camera. Let's see here. So, the platinum, you can't see her. There she is. This platinum, that's a female. And if you look, she's not showing us very well. Can you come here for a second? Hi, thanks. Come here. See how she's got, like, basically nothing going on down here? You can just see the fin. There's not, like, so you got this big fin, and then there's a fin underneath it. Can you pull your tail up and stop dragging it like a lazy, lazy person? Hey, up here. Come here. You're following orders pretty well tonight. Let's go. So, yeah, that's a female. And then let's see if Tank will come out. Come here, Tank. This is a male. So, where is he at? There he is. This guy. Can you turn yourself, Tank? Can you turn this way? Come here. Down here. A little bit further. Just a smidge further. Come on. She's not going to mess with you. He's worried about the female. He's being a baby. Female. Male. Scaredy pants. He's got a chunkier back fin. Come here. Trying to see if I can get it. Hey, don't bite him. Glare. It's not helping. Set this down. Tank, come here.
Almost.
Can you? Oh, okay, spin around. Do you see it? He's chunkier on the back end, and now he's going to run this way.
Here we go.
You see this right
there
here?
You go. Yeah,
chunkier.
there you
So
go.
it's like chunkier at the base. Now you
purple
can also
shell.
count those top fins, but that's a pain in the butt. So this is a female, and the male just left, but I can't show him to you anymore. This is also a female. The other's just like nothing. Like it's just like straight. Anyways, if you look at your own Bashirs, you'll be able to tell what I'm talking about because they'll look different. So if you're trying to figure it out, and ropefish are the same way. You can look at the same spot on a ropefish and it'll do the same thing for you. Because the ropefish and the Bashir come from the same, like, genus, Polyepteride. Well, it's Polyepteride and then Erpictus calabaricus. So the ropefish is kind of on its own, same type deal, but all the Bashirs are on their own over here under the Polyepteride family. That's when you start getting into the real stuff, the genetics. Right? Oh, me and Carrie from ODDBALL Aquatics spent the whole time on the bus to Chicago, Aquashella. When we were at Aquashella, we took a bus to Aqualand to go hang out with Greg Woodstock. And the whole time on the bus, me and Carrie were doing Punnett squares, trying to figure out the genetics of the Platinum Bashir. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was an ag major once upon a time. I can remember. And I raised.
It gets crazy.
Pit bull dogs, and I learned using peas, but I had pit bull terriers, and yeah.
It gets intense when you start getting into genetics. That's just how it goes.
Now, the one thing that just threw me sideways when I first, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get into these guppies deep, and I joined, a few groups on Facebook. And I found a couple of guys, that had show guppies and whatnot, and the genetics. I mean, when you go into talking about these guppies, it was beyond crazy. I don't even know how.
Oh, those guys get crazy.
And they
the bad part about guppies is that a lot of those people, well, not a lot of them, but a lot of the guppy lines that are out there, they make up their own names.
Yep.
So like, this is a green cobra, or this is a lace green cobra, or this is a blah, blah, blah. They make their own names up. So it's very difficult to tell what you're actually getting genetics-wise. I've seen people sell purple Moscows that were black, and blue Moscows that were purple, and purple Moscows that were blue. So you really never know what the underlying is in there because those lines have been bred out so much and so weird. Like, unless you're getting... It's just really hard.
I had black Moscows when they hit the house. Before breeding they were black, and everything was blue. After that, everything.
That's because somebody with a bunch of blue Moscows had a bunch that were really dark, put them in a separate tank, and called them black Moscows. It happens all the time. It happens with other fish too. That's why the rainbow fish guys are so crazy, because you don't mix rainbow fish. You don't do that. If you mix your rainbow fish, Gary Lane comes to your house and he beats you with a stick.
Oh, wait a minute. Skipper said, who is the hater that did the thumbs down? Show me. Skipper, no. No, Skipper. There's going to be 2 thumbs down. Guaranteed. It's okay. It's okay. They're expected. If I don't see them later on, there's a problem. And I'm going to have to get to the meat of that. But there's going to be 2.
Why is there going to be 2?
I don't know. Later on, when the reruns have ran for a little while, there's going to be 2. Guaranteed. I don't know what it is. I asked him, I said, hey, just email me. Let me know what you want to see. Maybe I'll make a show especially for you. But there's going to be 2 thumbs down.
It happens. I've got 3. I've got 3 usually that hit mine. Somebody just everybody likes something different. And if you're not what somebody likes and they have an opinion about it, they might tell you. Or maybe you have some kind of weird thing that, like, I mess with my hair a lot because I'm OCD and it keeps me from doing, anything else. But, like, when you have a tick that annoys somebody, like, stop touching your hair. for instance, our former president used to do like this a lot, like, and a lot of the like. I just wanted to be in his ear and be like, "Put your hands down." But then again, I do this all, like, I talk with my hands and I touch my hair all the time, so
Right,
it
right.
could be nothing about you. It's all about, haters are not about you. It's all about them. You gotta learn that, and then you'll live your best life. Because
Right.
you can't worry about what other people are doing. You can't worry about what the world's doing. You gotta focus on what you're doing and how you live your best life.
All right, Susan, you have a good one now. You have a good one. Thank you for coming through. I'm just glad they visited. Hey, they let me know
Yeah,
they were here. Because if
you
they come
saw
every
'em.
time,
They
yeah,
interacted.
that means they were here. So
YouTube
hey,
doesn't care if they click the like or the dislike. YouTube doesn't care. They see that as interaction.
yes,
You made them touch something.
glad they were here. Glad I could do something for them. Every time they would come to see if something was going to be different. But now, what do at Aquatic Arts, do y'all do a lot of breeding in house?
We
Everything?
buy from breeders. So we do imports and we buy from local breeders. Um, and a lot of our employees breed. Like, there's a couple of us that keep aquariums because they encourage the keeping of aquariums at Aquatic Arts. You can get reimbursed for things like tanks and stuff like that because it's encouraged. It's encouraged to be in the hobby. We have things that do breed just because they're there and they're easy breeders. Like, we'll have baby guppies and hang on, I'm at 20% on my battery and my phone's trying to tell me that. So
Hey,
guppies will breed, mollies will breed, things like that will breed. And a lot of times either an employee will take the babies home or sometimes the babies will stay there and we'll let them grow out if it's not something that's going to eat each other. Like, for instance, the vampire crabs that we've been getting in, those have been breeding in the tubs. So anytime I see babies in there or somebody sees babies, we pull them out and somebody takes them home. I've got a whole tank full of them. I know there's a couple other guys that have taken some home. So, I mean, we just kind of see what happens. We're not
okay.
trying to breed. Now, we're breeding shrimp, and that's going to become a big thing later on. So, but we still import shrimp, and we don't sell the shrimp that we're breeding currently. They're just kind of like a side project that a couple different, mostly Ross, who is one of our amazing, he's basically the water technician of all things sciencey. He keeps saltwater aquariums, and he's amazing. Y'all would love Ross. But yeah, we all have our little side projects. There's back in the office, Aaron's got a bunch of different tanks where he's trying to breed different fish, and he's actually taken, those what are they, Mylar, or those like space blankets? They're like
Uh-huh.
silver. He's taken a bunch of those and put them over tanks because he's trying to increase humidity and different lighting structures and stuff. We're always doing something weird. We're all a bunch of fish nerds, and we've got everything from the betta people to the cichlid people to the stingray people, and there's only about, I don't know, like 15 of us. So we're all just a bunch of nerds playing around with aquariums.
Okay. Hey, that's got to be a wonderful thing.
It's
I
so
mean,
much fun.
seriously.
Yeah. I
Rachel
mean,
O'Leary
there's a
called me a
couple of
nerd.
them. Oh, yeah? Well, she's a nerd, too.
Yeah,
She's a
exactly.
hardcore nerd.
I say, well, thank you. I never, what I'm saying? No one's ever bestowed that on me like that before.
I love nerding out with her. I've attacked her a couple times with some ropefish questions. Because it's not always just a ropefish question. Like, a lot of times I can ask you a question about something you're doing with a totally different fish or just with your aquarium in general, and I'm relating it back to my ropefish. Like, any question I ask, any information I'm trying to seek out, I'm generally trying to relate that back to ropefish. And it could be anything from something about your dog to something about any other fish on the planet. There's always something you can learn that's gonna connect some dots somewhere.
We'll say whether it's real or we're just doing it because we love fish.
Mm-hmm. Or just because we're nerds.
Oh, because I work at a penal institution, and nothing else should be reminding me of my fish. But I'm always thinking about, hey, if I go home, when I get off today, I'm gonna go, and buy some Sarpay tetras and
Yeah, I'll just see something when I'm driving down the road, like you see some body of water doing something weird or some tree growing around something else, and you're like, man, I bet that's this. I bet it's doing that because of this. I wonder what that would look like in this situation. Like, there's always a connection to a thought, which is why you got to stop and smell the roses and live your best life, because you have no idea where the aha moment's going to come from. I think that's why I like the show House, because he would always be in some random situation talking to somebody about something totally off subject, and that's when he figured out what was wrong with the patient. Like, that's always how it's going to be. It's everything. Like, people tell you, oh, if you're trying to get pregnant and you stop thinking about it and stop worrying about it, that's when it'll happen. Or if you're waiting for your food to come at dinner, if you go to the bathroom and stop worrying about it, that's when the food will come. Like, that's thinking about something else is the best way to focus on something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I live it.
Aquatic Arts better be showing 20% off. Oh, you know what? It's past midnight. Friday at midnight. It ran from Monday when we started it to Friday at midnight, and it's 12:27. So the sale just ended. I bet you we do another one after we see how much of this stuff goes out.
So it's still on. It will still be showing on sale in Texas.
I don't know. What time is it there?
It is 11:57.
I don't know if it works different from different time zones.
No, 11:28.
I kind of doubt it.
11:57.
I don't know. You'd have to look it up. I don't know. Have I ever kept axolotls? I have one. He's right over there. Hang on. His light is off. Boom. Axolotl tank. That's the fan that keeps the axolotl cool right there, because I keep my house at a stupid hot temperature. So, plus he's the oldest axolotl in the world. He's like, I got him because he looked ancient. I was at I think it was a club meeting somewhere, and he was just the biggest, most ancient, horrible-looking black axolotl I ever saw, and he still looks horrible. He's so old, and I just love him. His name's Major Tom because he floats in a most peculiar way. Get it? Good, right?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. He's just a big old, junky looking axolotl. But yeah, I keep my house super hot because not only do my fish prefer that, I'm like a reptile. I'm very small, so I insulate well, and I keep my house at like 75 degrees. And then I have a space heater that runs up to 83 in my bedroom. And that's how I sleep. I'm literally a dragon. Yeah. 83 degrees and 2 blankets. I'm a dragon. I'm telling you. And it's not just because I breathe fire. It's because I need it to be hot. I'm a tropical fish. 82 to 85 degrees.
I have a fan going on during the winter.
Oh, okay. This is a good question. Fish dreams. What would you tell rope fish keepers that house them in an aquarium only, not being able to get out of water? Turtle dock. That's the easiest thing. If you're in a place where you're like, PetSmart, that's what I can get to. That's the only thing I can do. What can I do? those floating turtle docks that you can set. You can get that, throw some plants on top of it, whatever you want to do, and then they have somewhere to like rest at the top of the water. And if you can't do that, floating plants, floating plants, floating plants, all the floating plants. And the more you can give them room to get out of the water or to rest at the top of the water, the less they will attempt to jump out of your aquarium.
What is, before we hit that hour mark, before we go, going back to axolotls, what is your total experience like? You know,
a pain in the
I know
butt.
there's a lot of people, they want axolotls, and then
first of all, you got to keep their water under 70 degrees. That's pretty difficult. That's generally not room temperature. Where do you set your thermostat? If you're one of those people that set your thermostat at 65 degrees, you'll probably be fine. If you have your thermostat at 70 or above, you're probably going to need a fan on your axolotl tank because they like cold. It's a cold water, fully aquatic species from Mexico. It's a bit difficult. They also really like to eat blackworms. Like, that is their preferred food, is live blackworms. That's kind of hard for some people to get.
come to Texas, you can get you a lot of blackworms.
Oh yeah, you guys got blackworms going on down crazy down there?
Yeah, you can get blackworms here.
We have to get them. We have to get, like, we get them in at Aquatic Arts. The reason I have an axolotl and it makes my life easy is we get blackworms in at Aquatic Arts.
Okay.
But I hate blackworms because they always come with flatworms and leeches, which is why I will never put them into any of my other aquariums. Because I can deal with a lot of creepy, crawly stuff. I do really well. Like, I can put my hands straight in the blackworms. I don't care. That doesn't freak me out. Leeches? And it's not even them touching, like, sucking my blood or whatever. Like, that's not what I'm afraid of. I just don't like them. I don't.
No, I don't like leeches.
Nobody does. Nobody looks at. No, that's not true. There are people that keep them as pets.
And they're all
big
colorful
ones.
and stuff. Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know if I could do that. I've kept a lot of things that a lot of people wouldn't keep. I've kept scorpions. I've kept those big centipede things. I've kept a lot of different animals because I see the beauty in all of it. Like, it's just an animal. It's living its best life. Look how cool it is. This is what it does, whatever. Leeches, not so much. That's where I draw the line. I can deal with them. I don't like it.
Kev's Aquatics is asking about a article, Aquatic Arts, about IP theft done.
Article on Aquatic Arts about ID theft. What are we talking about here? IP theft.
The computer location.
I got no idea. Way out of my butt. Computer stuff? Psh, I don't know. You're lucky I'm able to get on this live stream. Because I might be a YouTuber, but I'm the worst YouTuber ever.
The phone died. She said it was on its way out. She did. That's why I mentioned before we go. Well, it was wonderful to have her on. I'm gonna hit her. She may pop back up, but then again, I'm gonna hit on Messenger and let her know it's okay. It's cool. I know what happened. But thank y'all for coming through. Yes, Patty. When you stop learning, you are dead. Yeah, we know. So what we're gonna do? I'm gonna touch bases with you on Messenger. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for coming through. Tomorrow we have Brienne's Fish Fam. And well, I might as well announce it now. Tomorrow is going to be my last Saturday stream. The Aqua Shop will be closed for business. The aqua shop is getting in the way of too much life on Saturday. So I'm going to be shutting that down. Yes, yes, yes. Y'all take care of yourselves. Take care of those fish. And love somebody. We out. Hey.